Hello everyone, welcome to Analytics School YouTube channel. This is session 3 in Base SAS programming series. Today we are going to learn about internal raw data in SAS, then accessing external raw data files in SAS, and then we will talk about comments in SAS and their usage. And the last thing which we will learn about in today's topic is creating permanent libraries in SAS. Let's begin with the first topic, internal raw data. If you type your raw data directly into a SAS program, then that data are internal to your program. Let's see that. Let's run this particular program. Before discussing the output data, let's talk about a bit about program. In the last session, we talked about the fundamentals of base SAS programming, and we had discussed about that data set. A data step is basically used to create a SAS dataset. So we started with data step. Then in the second line, you are seeing input statement. Input statement is used that how, which basically tells us that how it is going to read your data. Here you are seeing that after name, there is a dollar sign, which helps us to recognize that this is a character variable. And here you are seeing age. I haven't put up any dollar sign or any sort of the sign, which tells us that it is a numerical variable. Then the third line where I wrote data lines. In place of data lines, you can also write cards. They are interchangeable. And then I start entering my data. Donna 40. Donna is the name and 40 is an age. Tom is the name, 30 is an age. Ryan is a name and 45 is an age. And we have also learned that every statement should end with a semicolon. So here after entering the data, I ended with a semicolon. And if you have seen the way I wrote the program, every statement is going to end with a semicolon. If we are not going to put up a semicolon in the end, then it is going to give us an error. Then we got an output data set. In the output data set, we are seeing the name and we are seeing the age in the age variables. This is how we wanted to see our data. Let's go to our log window, whether your program is correct or not. So it's always a best practice to have a look at your log table. If the values in your raw data file are all separated by one space or by any other delimiter type, then using the list input may be appropriate. Let's see an example that how to read an external raw data file using list input. I hope while installing SAS University Edition, everyone has created a folder called My Folders in SAS University Edition folder. And there I have created a file called retail.txt. Let's see this file. So here you can see there is a retail store called Big Bazaar. Its sale is 40,000. Walmart, its sale is 70,000. Costco, sale is 80,000. Sam's Club, 100,000. And Publix, 50,000. Now we are going to read this data using SAS. We have run this program, and now we will discuss about that how we are bringing this data into the SAS environment and then creating a SAS dataset called retail. So here if you'll see that data step has been written first and it is used to create a SAS dataset. Then we wrote in file statement. In file statement follows the data statement and preceded by the input statement. And this particular keyword mentions the file path. And remember, the file path should always be enclosed in the quotation marks. When we say file path, it tells us that where our data is lying. So here we have put up our data into retail.txt. So we have mentioned the path of retail.txt in file statement. Then the input statement. Input statement tells SAS how to read your data. If the variable is a character, then you need to place a dollar sign after the variable name so that SAS can understand that it's a character variable. Sales, which is a numerical variable, that's why I haven't put up any dollar sign. Let's see our data. Output data set, Big Bazaar 40,000, the sales. Walmart sale is 70,000, Costco sale is 80,000, Sam's Club 100,000, Publix 50,000. This is how we had seen the data into our txt file. Let's check our log. Always check your log whether you have written the correct code or not. It's always the best practice to check your log that how the things are working in SAS. SAS Studio runs on the Unix environment, so that's why you are seeing this particular style of writing the path. If you are using base SAS, base SAS, then the conventional Windows methodology to write a path will be followed there. And then it has 5 records were read from the in file. The minimum record length was 12, and the maximum record length was 15. It has been mentioned. Now, if you want to see that where your data is saved, go to libraries. And if you are seeing here retail in the work library is a temporary library. And here, the data set which you have created retail is saved here. You can see this. Big Bazaar 40,000, Walmart 70,000, Costco 80,000, Sam's Club 100K, and Publix 50,000. Now this is into the SAS dataset, which is into the SAS environment. But if we are going to uh, quit the SAS environment, if we are going to close the SAS Studio, so next time when you are going to log into the SAS environment, SAS Studio, you are not going to see this dataset. Let's go ahead and talk about what are the cons of using list input style while reading raw data from external data sources. There are few disadvantages of using list input style to access raw data in SAS. They are: one has to read all the data in the record. What does it mean? That if there are 10 variables in a dataset, you cannot skip 2 variables and read the record from only 8 variables. One needs to read all the 10 variables which are there in the data. Second one is, if there is any missing data in the dataset, then that data should be indicated by a period. If it is not, then you are not going to get a desired output. The third thing is, the character and numeric data must be in a standard format. What does it mean? If the character variable is having any missing spaces between them, then it is not going to read the data in an appropriate way. When we say numeric data must be in a standard format, it means that the numeric data should be only in numerals. It can have decimals, or it can have plus and minus sign. If it is having commas or dollar sign, then it is not going to read the data properly. Fourth disadvantage of using list input style is that character value should not be greater than 8 character in length. If character value is greater than 8 character in length, then SAS is going to truncate the variable and make it only of 8 character length. Let's see all these disadvantages of using list input by doing few examples. One of the disadvantage of using list input style in using SAS, that one must read all the data in a record. Let's see that by doing an example. In this particular program, I'm just trying to bring sales from the retail table. In retail table, we have two columns. One is retail store name and the other column is sales. So I'm just trying to bring the sales from my retail table. Let's see how SAS behaves. Here you see that we are getting periods. Let me show you the retail table. So in retail table, we have few superstores and their sales. But when we are trying to bring only sales, we are seeing period. And that is one of the disadvantage of using list input style. Why we are seeing dot or a period when we are using list input style? We are going to learn about it when we are going to discuss about programming data vector in SAS. Another disadvantage of using list input style in SAS is that any missing data must be indicated by a period. And if it is not, then SAS will behave bit weird. Let's make some changes in our dataset and then see that how SAS is going to behave. So this is a retail file and I have made few changes. Here you can see that in when there is a big bazaar, there was a sale of 40,000 which I deleted that particular number. Costco, again there is a blank. In Sam's Club, there is a period. So let's save this file and see that how SAS is going to behave when we are going to run a program. So you can see SAS is not reading our dataset properly. The name is Big Bazaar, but sales is null. Then there is no Walmart. It directly comes Costco. Sales is again null. Publix, sales is there, 50,000. But again, SAS is not reading the dataset properly. And the reason for this is that there is a way that how SAS work. And as I had said earlier, that we are going to discuss about all this stuff when we are going to talk about programming data vector. The third disadvantage of using list input style in SAS is that character or numerical data must be in a standard format. Let's make some changes in our dataset and see how SAS is going to give us an output. Here you can see that in our dataset I have made some changes. The retail store column, Big Bazaar, I have put up a space between big and bazaar, and numerals are now having a comma. Let's see after making these changes how SAS is going to run and what type of the output is going to give. So you can see the name variable where we had made changes in the first observation, big bazaar, I put up a space after big. So the bazaar hasn't come here and all the sales are showing as dot, which is not a correct way. So this is another disadvantage of using list input style. The last disadvantage of using list input style in SAS is that character values should not be greater than 8 character in length. Let's make some changes in our dataset and then run the program. In our dataset, we have made a change. We have added analytics school as another store and a numerical variable of 10,000. Let's see how SAS is going to read this. Let's run this program. So here you see the observation which we added as analytics school. It is showing us only analytic. School is not there. It's truncated the values of character variables since it is more than 8 characters in length. So this is another disadvantage of using list input style in SAS while assessing your raw data from external data source. Let's discuss about comments in SAS and their usage in SAS programming. One can use SAS programs more understandable by inserting comments in this SAS program. Comments are used to annotate the program, makes it easier to read, and it's also help us to understand what we have done and why we have done it. Let's see by doing some example that how can we add comments in a SAS program. One can insert a comment in a SAS program by clicking on forward backslash and star, and then we can put up the content what we want to put up in a SAS program. For example, and then we have to close the comment by clicking on a star and clicking on forward backslash again. Let's write a program. Now, if we are going to run our program, the comment is not going to affect to run a program successfully. So you can see there has been no effect of inserting a comment in a program and still we are able to run the program successfully, as well as if you are going to save your program and if you want to come back and want to see that what you have done, you can understand it well, and you will see that what you have done and why you have done it. So that is basically the usage of the SAS, of inserting comments in a SAS program. There is another way that how you can add comments in a SAS. For that, you need to click on star, and in the end you have to end it with a semicolon. This is another way of inserting a comment in a SAS program. We have seen that when we create any data set in SAS, then that data set is going to be saved into a temporary folder, which is called as a work library. And when we quit the SAS session, then that data set is no longer available. And when we re-log in into the system, we cannot see that data set anymore. We create permanent libraries in SAS to overcome this issue. Let's see how can we create a permanent library and save our dataset. In SAS, we can create permanent library by using a libname statement. In this libname statement, you can see that I have created a permanent library by the name of analytics. After using libname, you need to give a name of a permanent library and then the path where you are going to save your data after creating a permanent library. It is similar in creating a folder in Windows and then giving a name to that particular folder. Let's run this and see that how SAS is going to create a permanent library for us. So you can see in the log that libref analytic was successfully assigned as follows. Let's go to our libraries and see our libraries. So you can see analytic has been created, and you can also see that in work we have a data set called test. So if you'll click on this, you can see the data, and this is a SAS data set. However, if we are going to quit this the SAS program and then re-log in into the system, then the test dataset won't be there anymore. To overcome this issue, we create a permanent library in SAS and where we are going to save the dataset. Let's run a particular program and see how this is going to work. So how we are going to save our dataset into a permanent library. To use a permanent library, you need to use a two-level name. The first name is going to be a permanent library name, and the second, after a period, the second name is going to be your SAS dataset name, which you want to create. Let's run this program and see that where SAS is going to save this dataset. Let's change the name of this file as retail so that we should not get confused. Let's run this program. Now go to our libraries. So here you can see in our permanent library called analytic, we are able to create a retail dataset. Now let's log out from the SAS environment and try to access test and retail. And we will see that we won't be able to access test after we quit the system. However, we can recall a retail file again. So I'm now going to quit the SAS environment. Now I'm going to re-log in into the SAS environment. Now let's try to recall our test file which was saved in the work library. And then we will try to recall retail file which was saved in our permanent library. Let's try to run this program and see whether we can recall a test file which was saved in a work library. Here you can see file does not exist anymore because it was saved in a work library. As you can see, In work, there is no test file. Now let's try to recall a retail file which was saved in a permanent library called analytics. To do that, we need to recall a library once again by writing the libname statement. So we have created our analytic library once again. And here you can see as soon as we wrote the libname statement to recall our permanent library analytic, you can see that the SAS dataset which we have created called retail, you can see is there. Let's try to write a code and see that whether we can access retail or not. And how we are going to do that, that is also important to understand. Here you are seeing that I'm writing proc print statement. It basically helps us to see that what is there in our data. And now we are going to see that how we are going to recall our retail dataset which we have created in the previous session. For that, you need to refer to the dataset by its tool level name. When we say tool level name, the first name is going to be a permanent library name which is analytic. Then period, and then you need to write your dataset name which is retail. Now let's run this simple program and see whether we can recall the dataset which we have created in the previous session. As you can see that we are not able to recall a file which was saved into the work library in which was created into the previous session. However, we are able to recall a dataset which was created in a permanent library. So in this way, we can create a dataset in a permanent library and we can recall it at any given point of the time. So this is an end of session 3. Guys, if you like a video, then please do like and subscribe us. And if you are looking for an online training, then you can contact us at. Thank you.